matchup?
It's definitely, you know, I honestly don't know. I'm going to have to see the way that Macheeete is playing Fate so far, because we could see Hysen. You know, I don't know how I feel about a Dawson pick. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. He's already orange. He was orange on that first orb hit. I think the matchup favors Fate here.
You don't say. I wonder what would make you think that. As Macheeete had a fantastic read, that initial dodge in from Hysen led to a neutralite from Macheeete and then so much extra. And now Hysen very much on the back foot. The active input sidelight almost launches him, but a relatively large box here on Demon Island means that he'll survive these for a little while. Macheeete feeling comfortable though.
So to analyze that matchup question a little bit deeper, take it past like the way that the players were playing the character, and let's just look at like raw legends in it. I think, you know, I don't know where Axe kind of fits in to the current meta in 1v1s. We saw it in 2v2 still, not as popular as it used to be, so I would assume that would go like almost double. Oh my, dude, Macheeete is just completely ruining Hysen so far in this game. So I think he's going to struggle with Axe. I think if we look at some of the other Gauntlet players today that were playing against Scythe players, they were struggling to find their way in. Same thing went with Katars as well. And that's exactly what Hysen's doing here. Now, a lot of that is just Macheeete is on. He is totally dialed in, playing so well. His spacing is so good. But we've seen several whiffs from Hysen so far. Has barely made contact with the Axe. There's the sidelight nair, but he misses the ground pound. He's finding his way back in, finding some good hits, but still, Macheeete is more than a full stock up.
And the one thing that's a struggle here for Hysen is, like, generally when you're this down in game number one, I'm like, pick a different character. You just try something different. But with the way that this has been going, it hasn't been like the Dhalsim that's not working as much as like Macheete's are already in Hysen's head. He already knows how Hysen wants to dodge and is getting so much extended damage onto Hysen.
Now, the damage output from Hysen's Axe hasn't been bad so far. We saw him make several connections earlier once he got it in his hand. That is going to be an interesting choice to go for the recovery. Somehow, there was still enough damage built up that led to the stock loss from Hysen, but he went with the recovery all the way on the wall rather than going for like a ground pound or anything like that. Maybe he was worried on like vertical above hitboxes and really wasn't worried about anything below.
Hysen, though, does have Macheeete in the red. There is this opportunity that he at least doesn't walk away with this getting 3-stocked. Needs to get that read, needs to get that recovery. The side sing not going to connect Macheeete with a fantastic punish. That dash jump over and then fast fall into the side air. Finally, Hysen finds the hit for the first KO for Hysen.
Going to juggle the weapons here. You see him sticking with the Axe. The thing is with his damage output on Axe is at this point he needs to be hitting sidelight nair like absolute cake. Like, it's the easiest thing in the world. He needs to hit it every time. He needs to not take hits, and literally none of those things are happening. In fact, quite the opposite is happening.
Yeah, he is definitely getting hit when he needs to be hitting. He does hit a neutral light. You see him kind of baiting out a little bit. You saw that kind of forward motion. The spot dodge came out from Macheeete, but Hysen didn't get more to punish that spot dodge.
Macheeete now the one kind of struggling to find any way in. Of course, he has a massive lead. He's going to swap over to the Scythe, but he's now in the orange. It used to be a greater than 1-stock lead. It's now about a 1-stock lead, technically a little bit less, as Macheeete has more damage on his second than Hysen has on his final. No great punish there. Was just that weapon toss. He's way too far away to get the chance to punish it, so he doesn't even try it.
Yeah, Hysen really extending the reach, trying to keep Macheeete away. He knows if the side stick connects could lead to a KO, but more often he's just looking for some distance, some breathing room from Macheeete. Needs to finish the stock off. Oh, just that little side air.
You see him using that downlight, max range on that downlight, but he can also active input to use the strong kick version that'll send towards the blast zone, maybe for the final blow. Hysen's got to be careful with that. If Macheete's too close, you know he's going to punish it. He's done it twice now.
Yeah, he's definitely ready for those side six. When he has the orb in hand, can go down. Oh, you see him actually doing the tap this time, but Macheeete still finds the punish, and that will be game one, going in favor of Macheeete.
And that's the tough part of games kind of shaking out the way that they just did, is even though Hysen, look at how this one started. This was huge. Neutral air, side air. Bro, what year are we watching Scythe in? Is this, I don't even remember when Scythe came out, but I feel like I'm looking at like 2018 or 2019 Scythe gameplay with that. That was incredible. But what I was saying about how the end of that game kind of shook out is Hysen was finding his way in with the axe, yes, but he was so far behind that it was to the point where he had to get lucky every time, and Macheeete only had to get lucky a single time.
I do want to give credit to Hysen. He brought that one closer than it was looking like it was going to be, but it's already looking like a repeat. Hysen does get the wall touch, but he has yet to touch a weapon. Finally picks up gauntlets 15 seconds into this, but he's getting close to that KO %.
Hysen really working on his spacing, trying to stay as far away as he can while also being in range to be able to punish some of these moves that Macheeete is throwing out. He's done a fair job so far. Like he's spent an extended period of time like right outside of Macheete's effective range, but that huge opening just put him so far behind.
All right, he's going to make the swap over to the orb. Trying to get this KO quickly. Hysen does have a lot of horizontal movement. Gauntlets have that side air. He's going to live, but again, he's not really getting any damage put out onto Macheeete. And when he's with the gauntlets, like his most used gauntlet move in game 1 was side zig.
We see this one, scythe in hand for Macheeete, a massive lead here. It's like Hysen is just like on the periphery of everything. He's in the parking lot. Well, this is EU, so they probably won't understand this. But he's in the parking lot driving around trying to find a parking spot, and he just can't find one yet, which means he can't go inside. He can't get in brunch. He can't sit down with his friends. He's just kind of stuck on the outside driving through row after row after row. Oh, does that look like a parking spot? Oh, no, that's actually just a small car. Oh, found his way in. I lied. He found the parking spot. The person who just started pulling out.
He had the blinker on, was ready, and found it. Finally, finding his footing here in game number 2. Suddenly, life in Hysen as he's evened this one up. He needs to maintain this weapon advantage, though. Macheeete with the weapon is a serious threat. He's trying to deny, gets a down air. Oh, multiple down airs from Hysen.
Spacing really coming through here. Turns that one around. He attempted it the first time. It didn't make contact. Found it there all of a sudden. Game 2, Hysen finds himself a lead.
Yeah, he found the first parking spot, and he was like, you know what? I could find better. Got out, found a spot closer to the entrance. Now he just needs to find one that's next to the door so he can go in and get game number 2.
Macheete's orb coming out, finds no way in. Neutral Sync doesn't even send off screen. That Dalsum defense coming through. Gonna keep Hysen in this one a little bit longer. He's not even red yet, so he's still in a pretty good spot unless he gets caught somewhere goofy.
All right, over to the gauntlets. This is where I get nervous for Hysen because, again, those side sigs just not working against Macheete's orb. He's going to back off over to the axe.
Scythe coming in for Macheeete. The thing Hysen has to worry about, man, I swear, that started to slow down more than I expected it towards the end, as that friction really came into play on the side of that axe. The thing that worries me is, like, even though Hysen is really far in the lead, we know how quickly Hysen can do, like, 50 to 100 damage in the blink of an eye. So if Macheeete gets the stock here, we could see a Hysen orange very quickly.
Yeah, Hysen cannot breathe a sigh of relief. Despite the lead he's built, Macheeete with the scythe could easily even this one up. Hysen needs to find a weapon, needs to find that KO ASAP. Goes in for the side light. He's got to be careful about how he uses his dodges.
That's Hysen in the yellow. Barely picked up a weapon off a spawn. He's already yellow. It's not going to take long for him to be orange. The spacing, not quite what Macheeete was looking for. Hysen finds the axe recovery. KO off the top. Game 2 goes to Hysen.
3 stocks, 3 parking spots, and Hysen is in there. He is going to tie it up 1 apiece. Likely going to be sticking with the Dalsum, and it's pretty much just been the Dalsum axe game. He's got the SIGs on lock. That's likely what he's looking for with this Dalsum.
You can see the damage coming out there. It only took Hysen 494 damage. That is fantastic KO efficiency. Good bit of that is from the down signature that he hit on the edge early on in the game. You can see that graph. The first stock from Macheeete in the blue is the one that took a long time, but the peak of that graph before it dropped to 0 for the respawn was very, very low compared to everything else in the game. That is that down signature.
And now we're seeing game number 3. Macheeete wants more wall, does not want that Demon Island there. You're seeing why that down signature is such a threat on smaller walled maps.
And Hysen opened this one up with a very early down signature, but this time it was a little bit different. He didn't go for the immediate minimum charge time because Macheeete might be able to dodge through that. That's what he was expecting. He charged it up just a little bit longer, so the Macheeete dodge comes out, the iframes are done, and then he comes crashing down with the down signature.
No, but again, we're seeing that early damage in favor of Macheeete. Gonna go over to the Scythe. Scythe generally not with the most KO tools. All right, there's a recovery. Hysen fights his way back up, and it's going to be over to the orb for the KO potential.
Macheeete was so bold for telegraphing that ground pound, dude. He telegraphed that one like a Dark Souls boss. I can't believe he didn't get more punished for it. He is still going to grab the stock about a minute into the game. A nice lead under his belt.
And unfortunately for Hysen, it seems like the wind has been knocked out of his sails. He was looking so good at the start of this one. You saw a lot more confidence come out. And now that he's lost that first stock so quickly, he's starting to play a little bit more patient again.
And you were talking about the axe being the major linchpin that gave Hysen a victory last game. He doesn't have that yet. It was a little while that he was stuck on the gauntlets, wasn't able to find too many initiations. Now he has the axe in hand, so things could be changing for the better if you're a Hysen fan.
And you're starting to see kind of his KO reads, right? He goes for the N-Sick, didn't work out, goes for the dare into the recovery, didn't work out. Nice GCN light will even up the stock count, and likely, yeah, will be sticking with the axe.
Macheeete going to spawn back in, able to get to a weapon very quickly as it spawned to the top right. Meanwhile, Hysen was on the left side of the stage. There's the side light nair. Is he going to go for any resets immediately? No, it's just for another jump nair. Hits the grounded down air. Hysen, his spacing is what is keeping him in this game 100%. He has a Macheeete beat just a little bit in terms of scythe range versus axe range, and he's playing that really well.
It's so insane because generally people say that Scythe wins in the matchup against Axe. Scythe has those quick attacks. It can get in on top of the Axe. It can work out. But Hysen's showing he knows the matchup. He knows what he needs to do against Macheete's Scythe. Downsick comes out, no punish.
Macheeete knows, it seems like, the exact spacing for that because now it's been twice. And he's kind of been sitting on the bottom side of that wall. It's not a Demon Island wall. It's going to be a little bit longer than that, so you do have a little bit more room to sort of hug the bottom of it to stay away from anything that might immediately come over the corner. That gives you some time to react, or you don't have to do anything whatsoever, because if you know the spacing well enough, you don't have to burn a dodge.
Just a nair. Down light. Hysen adding up the damage. Macheeete, he's a side light, side air away from getting the stock advantage. The neutral light will launch. Macheeete does get back up safely, doesn't even go for the safe wall touch, instead completely challenges Hysen, and Hysen with another neutral light will launch him.
Oh, the dodge comes through. That keeps Macheeete safe from the unarmed recovery from Hysen. Weapon toss goes a little bit low. Macheeete still has enough control of the stage to get over to the weapon spawn, and the next one right after that, Hysen takes a side air from the wrong side of the stage. It's not going to be a KO just yet, but they are so even. The unarmed side air from the middle of the stage, not enough. Both players throwing their weapons away, trying to hit one another.
They're playing these second stocks like it's their last stocks. They're going for safe options, these quick taps that are just not KOing. Macheeete with the slight weapon advantage. The orb sider will likely do it if he hits the side stick to bait. Macheeete hits the Sair, and that will be the stock advantage.
I swear, they were playing that final stock like they're Snowy.
Yeah.
Playing last stock red, where it's just a lot of weapon tosses coming out, a lot of really safe moves, just kind of sitting around for a minute trying to figure out what you want to do, open up with a weapon toss, that misses, your disarm, kind of wait and play the next weapon spawn.
Downlight will connect for Hysen, evening up the stock count. You saw Macheeete being like, all right, I have a lead, let me try to push it, being a little bit more aggressive with the orb. Didn't completely work out, but he did get some damage built up.
Nice neutral light. Going to be very careful. Waited on that one. The timing of it completely changed it up. Hysen found a connection, but Macheeete wasn't too damaged, so it's not really going to put Macheeete into a terrible spot and definitely won't lead to a KO as we get into these final stocks. This game is long. This is over 4.5 minutes in this game between these two players.
Just the footsies from both of them, the survivability from both of them. Macheeete denying the weapons from Hysen. Even though Hysen has this damage advantage, Macheeete did have the weapon advantage, but again, we're going to see a repeat of those second stocks, right? Like, where they struggle to get that finishing blow. Macheeete likely will try to stick with the orb longer because he has more KO potential with the Sair. Touches the wall.
He was stuck in so many active frames for that orb recovery. That gave Hysen a free punish, while the recovery actually just ended up bringing Macheeete closer and closer to him. Hysen going to take that one. 617 damage. Even though that's a little bit on the high side in terms of KO efficiency, it's also a lot of damage built up throughout a very long game. You would think if it was essentially a 5-minute game, actually more than 5 minutes, it was 5 minutes and 15 seconds by the time this one was over. That's not necessarily a lot of damage for how long that game went. Look at that graph. Look at that massive wedge in the middle for both players.
Damage with the gauntlet, though, and that was Hysen's weapon toss at the end. He was all axe all day, and now we're going to game number 4, and we're seeing this swap from Macheeete over to the Jae-Yun. We'll see how well it works out. The Great Sword can generally do pretty well into the axe, but we also said that about Scythe.
We'll see how Hysen handles this matchup, because this is going to be radically different from everything else in the game.
I mean, to a degree, it's the same issue, though. Hysen has to make sure he dodges correctly. If he dodges wrong, he's taking a big old punish. Now, he's going over to the gauntlets in this matchup. Wants to try to stack up a little bit. Side sig will connect for Hysen, but Macheeete is getting more hits.
Macheeete looks like he's playing a little bit of the zoning game, hoping Hysen will push into him in order to get into Hysen's effective gauntlet range. You know, there's the swap almost immediately over to the axe. That's going to give him a little bit of a range boost here, so he doesn't have to get quite so close as he did with the gauntlets.
Who gets a 2-piece, was trying to get the read off that nair, wanted a second nair. Macheeete getting more damage, though. A dare might do it for Macheeete. Doesn't go for the down sig instead, trying to play the edge guard.
Swapping now over to the sword, working on his spacing here, hoping to find those D-lights, leading into a possible KO from the recovery or the side air. Too far away to punish that one.
2-piece, goes for the end sig. Macheeete has the coverage. Weapon toss, might have guaranteed a landing, and yeah, Hysen will get back up safely. Punish? No!
That's going to be tough for him to find. I don't think he's going to really have the option to punish that side signature if there's any range on it whatsoever from Hysen with a sword D-light. Because it is a quick move, but I think by the time he gets over there, Hysen's going to be at least up in the air high enough to get over that. He's going to have to find maybe a dash up side air like he did with the orb several times.
Yeah, I'm surprised that's not his initial thought, right? Like, it works so well with Orb. Likely would have worked well with the sword as well, but right now, Macheeete needs to survive this edge guard. Hysen backs up, hits the side sig, will even up the stock count.
Now, of course, over here on the Demon Island, we haven't seen those sidewalls play too much of a part in this one yet. We haven't seen Hysen really push Macheeete off stage or vice versa, and we definitely haven't seen those down signatures over the side of the stage yet from Hysen like we did in previous games.
Hysen really likes to go for those axe down airs in neutral. Does get a nice downlight into the nair. Definitely not true. Macheeete punishes Hysen for throwing away the axe, and now Hysen's in trouble. Hasn't touched ground, and he is going to lose that second stock.
That is Hysen falling very early on that stock. You saw how close he was able to get to the stage. Unfortunately, all he really had left was the unarmed down air, which that was his attempt to down air into the wall. If Macheeete wanted to push off stage, hopefully find a connection there, at least giving him a chase dodge so he can get back onto the main platform. But he didn't have that. He just ended up down airing into Macheete's D-light, which led to the KO. Now Macheeete has a huge lead.
Yeah, and he is building more and more damage on the Hysen's final stock here in game number 4. Very real possibility of a game 5 unless Hysen can shove Macheeete off stage, maybe pick up that end sig or the down sig. But Macheeete with the edge guard again, playing it smart and safe. Hysen fights his way back up.
Sword gameplay from Macheeete is looking pretty good. Even goes for the D-light dare as the option. Not really sure why he went for that one. Maybe he miscalculated where that dare would send because it was like on the edge of the cone. GC side sig, going to even up the stocks here. Hysen juggling weapons, likely again going to stay with the axe. And yes, he does jump up to grab that one right as Macheeete spawns back in.
But Macheeete steals away the weapon spawn, picks up the end sig. We're going to game 5.
How much? I got to see how much damage he did on the Greatsword because I don't think it was very much.
He got a couple of hits.
Okay, he did 219. Yeah. That's more than I thought compared to the 314 on Sword. Really, definitely towards the latter half of that game, the Sword gameplay was the real shining star from Macheeete. Just standard textbook Sword gameplay.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. Like, the damage build on Sword really started picking up towards the end there. Like, there was a brief moment there where I was like, maybe Macheeete should just pick, like, a more standard Sword character. Go to the Val, go to the Koji, go to the Bodvar even. But, you know what? The Greatsword was not completely without effort. It definitely had some moments there. And Hysen, we saw the gauntlets pick up a little more, was hitting those side sigs, just wasn't able to get that lead back.
And I'm looking at some of these numbers, specifically the throws for both of these players, but really Hysen coming out with 15 throws. That's sort of some of that snowy gameplay that I was talking about, those elevated throw numbers. Macheeete still came out with 9 throws, so definitely not a 0 amount of throws, of course, because as we know, 9 is greater than 0. Actually, it's 9 greater than zero, which is crazy when you really think about that one. I didn't even need to pull out the calculator. You can verify. Remy can verify, too.
I had to pull up the fingers for that one.
But with Hysen coming out with 15 throws, 3, 2, 1. Not a bad number.
No.
I like to see a lot of weapon tosses.
We are seeing a skin swap from Hysen as he goes to the classic Rayman. I'm a little bit worried about this map, though, of Demon Island, because Macheeete was just looking so good, and Hysen was struggling in those edge guard situations. He was stuck on those walls. He tried to fight his way back up. He'd use like Sair, he'd use weapon toss, but at the end of the day, Macheeete was picking him apart.
I'm really worried about the skin swap because this is true bald erasure as he moves off of the Dalsim, known for being bald, onto the Rayman, who is known worldwide for his very active hair.
Yes, their 2 most known traits is the baldness of Dalsim and the hairedness of Rayman.
So really not a fan of this one. I think if Hysen ends up coming out on top, then I'm going to be very unhappy.
Well, I'm sure Macheeete will be upset as well, as he did earn this Game 5 situation off his play in Game 4 so far, both in the red. Hysen playing his gauntlets a lot differently in this one. You're seeing kind of the classic gauntlet play. Those Sairs, Nairs, lots more lights, and not as many charged side sigs. Recovery gets him back onto the stage.
There is a weapon spawn on the field. Macheeete is going to grab that one, get himself a second sword. Being very careful, doesn't want to take that follow-up recovery that Hysen is really looking for here. Weapon toss goes down. Hysen without a weapon picks up the axe very quickly. That unarmed sider gave him plenty of room to pick that one up. There's that weapon toss, picks it up, ends up falling. His next weapon pickup will be the gauntlets. So it's going to be a reasonably considerable amount of time before Hysen gets another axe in his hand.
Oh, never mind. The side sig connects. The change in the charge up. You don't see the long arm of the Dalsim Law connecting, and that way Macheeete wasn't ready for it. Second stocks, both of them, even Hysen trying to cover the weapon, but Macheeete picks up the greatsword.
We'll see how he plays this. Sort of, it seems like the weapon that he's leaning on a little bit less. He's not completely abandoning the greatsword, but he's definitely leaning on it a little bit less into the axe, the weapon that Hysen is leaning on more compared to the gauntlets. Immediately throws that away, gets that chuck up toss. Out comes the regular standard sword.
I really think one of the reasons he's kind of departed from the greatsword is, like you saw him just a moment ago, he was going for a lot of greatsword nairs. If you're a greatsword player, you don't want to be looking for greatsword nairs. Generally, you want that ground game. You want the end light, so you can lead to more, but the side sig could lead to a KO, and yes, it will.
Didn't even have to throw that greatsword away. Didn't even attempt it, even though it does have a gigantic throw and hitbox. Gonna juggle those just a little bit, even charged up the throws. Sticking with the sword. Found that nice little neutral light. Found another neutral light. Hysen not going to have luck here. It wasn't a dash jump. Macheeete got the jump actually out in time because he was at this time in the effective range of that side signature from Hysen. So good reaction on that and good punish.
Yeah, he was completely ready for it. Great spot dodge from Macheeete. Leads to a 2-piece onto Hysen. Side sig, it's just the tap. Doesn't get that extra force dump. Doesn't hit the recovery. Hysen struggling to finish the stock off Macheeete.
There's that weapon toss. Wasn't close enough. He's just going to keep throwing that one at Hysen.
I mean, it'll stop those side sigs.
And it's huge.
It's a good response. Neutral light, not going to KO. The weapon toss will. Final stocks here. Hysen, he didn't get the weapon spawn he wanted. You saw him throw up the gauntlets hoping for the weapon spawn, but Macheeete will get the greatsword.
It should be coming in reasonably soon, but it depends where it's actually going to be on the map. It does favor Hysen's side. He's going to do a jump sider to hit Macheeete away, giving him plenty of room to come in with this axe. Hysen's not in a terrible spot. He is very much in the red, but now he's disarmed, so we have a different game. Gauntlets in his hand. That's probably not what he wants.
Yo, gets a 3-piece onto Macheeete. Down sig, weapon toss. Macheeete in the offstage gets past. Hysen didn't finish the KO. Now we're in the red, and the side sig's thrown out. That's a spot dodge burned, but he gets up safely.
That was a huge clutch moment for Hysen. Jump side air from Macheeete. Going to control the weapons. There is the down air in the Game 5 situation. Macheeete is going to take it.
He hangs on. He has been going match after match after match. He got knocked into the elimination bracket so early, and he is making that run, going to Game 5 against Hysen, but he holds on, and he is now guaranteed a spot in the top 6.
I'm telling you, it's because he played a legend with hair. He plays Dawson Game 5, he wins that 100%. 100%. And I put that on G.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, I believe.